They closed the third floor first. The library in our town started locking the third floor in September. No announcement, no sign, just a velvet rope across the stairs and a small placard that said, "Staff only." I'd been going there since middle school. The third floor had the local history section, old yearbooks, and a table by the window where no one bothered you. When I asked the woman at the circulation desk why it was closed, she said they were reorganizing. I asked when it would reopen. She said she wasn't sure. 2 weeks later, the velvet rope was gone. The door at the top of the stairs was locked. A keypad had been installed next to it. The light was on up there. I could hear footsteps, but no one went up, and no one came down. In October, they started asking for ID to check out books. Not a library card, a driver's license or state ID. They'd always asked before, but not like this. Now they scanned it, held it under a light, checked something on the computer that took longer than it used to. One afternoon, a man ahead of me in line didn't have his ID. He said he'd left it in his car and offered his library card instead. The clerk said she couldn't check out his books without state-issued ID. He asked why. She said it was policy. He left without his books. Around that time, they installed cameras, not just at the entrance, everywhere. In the aisles, above the shelves, near the study tables. Small black domes in the ceiling, the kind you see in airports. I asked my friend Aaron if he'd noticed. He said his dad worked in city planning and that the library had applied for a security grant. He said it was normal, but the cameras weren't just recording. I realized that one afternoon while looking for a book on the second floor, I pulled one from the shelf. Within 30 seconds, a librarian appeared at the end of the aisle. She asked if I needed help finding anything. I said no. She looked at the book in my hand for a moment, then she walked away. The book was about land disputes in the county. I put it back. The next week, they added a new rule. No bags inside. Everything went into lockers by the entrance. You got a key and picked it up on your way out. They said it was to prevent theft. The lockers had cameras pointed at them. I started noticing who still came to the library. It used to be full. Students, retirees, parents with kids. Now it was quieter. The same few people, always at the same tables, and there were always 2 or 3 men in suits sitting near the computers. They never checked out books. They never used the computers. They just sat there. In November, they closed the children's section for remodeling. There was no construction, no noise, just a locked door and a sign that said, "Temporarily unavailable." A week later, I saw a mother trying to get in with her 2 kids. She knocked. No one answered. She went to the desk and asked when it would reopen. The clerk said she didn't have that information. The mother asked where her kids were supposed to go for story time. The clerk said programming had been suspended. The mother left. I didn't see her again. Around then, the computers changed. The screens faced away from the aisles, privacy shields on both sides. But there was a new camera mounted directly behind each terminal, pointed at the screen. I asked Aaron if that was normal. He said his dad had stopped talking about the library. He said when he asked about it, his dad told him to use the one in the next town over. In December, they started checking receipts. When you left, a staff member asked to see what you'd checked out. They matched it against the slip from the desk printer. If you hadn't checked anything out, they asked to see inside your coat. One evening, I watched them stop a teenager at the door. He hadn't checked out any books. They asked him to empty his pockets. He did. They found a piece of paper, handwritten notes. He said it was from class. They took him to the back office. I didn't see him leave. I stopped going after that, but my mom still went once a week. She liked the large print mysteries on the first floor. In January, she came home without any books. I asked if they were out. She said no. I asked why she didn't check any out. She said she didn't feel like reading anymore. 2 days later, she got a letter from the library. It said her card had been suspended pending a review. It didn't say what kind. It didn't say why. She called the library. They told her to come in and speak to the director. She never went. Last month, they closed the library entirely. The sign on the door said facility improvements. It said they'd reopen in the spring. I drove by last week. The windows on the 3rd floor were covered, not with curtains, with something black, solid. There were cars in the parking lot, unmarked sedans. The lights were on inside. I pulled over and watched. A man in a suit came out the side entrance carrying a box. He put it in the trunk of one of the cars and went back inside. He left the door propped open. I could see into the hallway. Boxes stacked along the walls, dozens of them. I don't know what was in them, but I know what wasn't.